Ashes launched into space, a mysterious death still unresolved, and a reunion between Batman and Robin. Over the course of 2 decades, Futurama has had its fair share of celebrity guests. Unfortunately, not all of those beloved guest stars are still with us today. Bea Arthur was an icon of both theater and television. On stage, she won a Tony for playing Vera Charles in the 1966 musical Mame, a role she reprised for the 1974 film adaptation. On the small screen, her All in the Family character Maude Findlay was instantly popular enough to get her own spin-off series, and playing Dorothy Spornak on The Golden Girls further cemented her legacy as one of the all-time comedic acting greats. In the Futurama episode Amazon Women in the Mood, Arthur was the voice of the Fimputer, an artificial intelligence that rules over the Amazons. Fimputer sentences Fry, Cliff, and Zap to, quote, death by snoo-snoo, with snoo-snoo being how Amazons refer to sex. Bender discovers that the Fimputer is actually a Fimbot pretending to be an all-powerful being who had escaped a similar situation from her own planet.
I came here from a faraway planet. A planet ruled by a chauvinistic manputer that was really a man-bot.
On April 25, 2009, Arthur died from lung cancer at the age of 86. The lights of Broadway went dark in her honor 3 days after her death. In her will, Arthur bequeathed $300,000 to the Ali Forney Center, which offers housing and other services to homeless LGBTQ+ youth in New York City. The center's Bea Arthur residence officially opened in 2015. Comedian Jan Hooks was one of the repertory cast members of Saturday Night Live from 1986 through 1991. Already connected to Matt Groening's Fox cartoons as the original voice of Apu's wife Manjula on The Simpsons, she guest starred on Futurama as the fembot Angeline in the episode Bendless Love.
Hi, Angeline. What you up to?
Making hangers. Guidance counselor said I had a knack for it.
Angeline is the ex-wife of Bender's goateed doppelganger, Flexo. After Bender meets Angeline doing scab work during a strike, he impersonates Flexo to try to figure out her true feelings, only for this ridiculous plot to end up reigniting her love for her ex. Though Hooks continued to take infrequent acting work up until her death in 2014, it became harder for her due to health problems. While she survived leukemia in 2009, a throat tumor in 2014 proved unresponsive to chemotherapy. Given the choice between a total laryngectomy and hospice care, she chose the latter, dying at the age of 57 on October 9, 2014. The Simpsons and SNL both paid tribute to her in the week following her death. The 2008 Futurama movie, The Beast with a Billion Backs, was one of the final acting roles for Brittany Murphy, who previously starred in such films as Clueless, Girl Interrupted, 8 Mile, and Sin City, as well as the animated series King of the Hill. In The Beast with a Billion Backs, she voiced Colleen O'Hallahan, a polyamorous police officer who dates Fry before ultimately becoming the one true love of the interdimensional tentacle monster, Yivo.
Are you and Yivo?
That's right, Fry. Thank you for introducing us. Yivo has taught me what a narrow-minded prude I was before.
The circumstances of Murphy's death by cardiac arrest on December 20th, 2009 remain a subject of controversy to this day. The coroner's autopsy report said that her death was the result of a combination of pneumonia, iron deficiency, and drug intoxication. Although both her mother, Sharon Murphy, and her husband, Simon Monjack, denied that she used drugs. Monjack died under the same circumstances in the same house on May 23, 2010. Sharon came to believe both deaths were due to toxic mold in the building. Brittany Murphy's father claimed that his daughter was deliberately poisoned with heavy metals, which Sharon denied. The controversy was covered in the HBO Max docuseries What Happened, Brittany Murphy, which many critics found exploitative. Depending on your age, you probably knew Estelle Harris best as either George Costanza's mother on Seinfeld or as the voice of Mrs. Potato Head in the Toy Story movies. In the Futurama episode Near Death Wish, she played Velma Farnsworth, the 210-year-old mother of Professor Farnsworth. Velma and her husband Ned live in the virtual reality matrix on the space retirement home known as the Near Death Star. When Fry reawakens Velma and Ned on a visit, the professor is not happy about it, but the Farnsworths are eventually able to reconcile their differences.
Oh, Mama! Daddy! Oh!
Harris lived a long and happy life, dying of natural causes on April 2, 2022, just weeks before what would have been her 94th birthday. The honor of being the first of many guest stars in Futurama went to none other than Mr. Spock himself, Leonard Nimoy. The Star Trek actor, director, and writer was the first 20th century celebrity that Fry met as a head in a jar in the show's pilot episode, Space Pilot 3000.
It's a life of quiet dignity.
Feeding time!
Nimoy's head was later granted a full body by an evil alien Trekkie in the episode Where No Fan Has Gone Before, which included the full main cast of the original Star Trek. Nimoy was diagnosed with chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, a form of lung disease linked to smoking, in January 2014. The actor had quit smoking 30 years earlier and spent his final year urging others to quit. He went into a coma on February 25, 2015, and died of COPD complications 2 days later at the age of 83. Loving tributes poured out from his Star Trek co-stars and the many people inspired by his work, ranging from astronaut Buzz Aldrin to President Barack Obama. Nichelle Nichols, whose role as Uhura broke major ground for Black women on television, made 2 guest appearances on Futurama. One of these was alongside Leonard Nimoy in the aforementioned Star Trek parody episode. The other was in a segment of Anthology of Interest 1, where she was part of Al Gore's team of Vice Presidential Action Rangers, dedicated to protecting the space-time continuum.
Something's wrong. Murder isn't working, and that's all we're good at.
Following a stroke in 2015 and a diagnosis of dementia in 2018, Nichols retired from acting and went on one last tour of the fan convention circuit. Her living conditions in her final years were the subject of controversy, with multiple legal battles fought over her conservatorship. She was 89 years old when she died of heart failure on July 30th, 2022. After a lifetime of inspiring generations of astronauts both through her acting and her volunteer work with NASA, Nichols' ashes were sent into outer space alongside those of fellow Star Trek actor Majel Barrett Roddenberry and effects artist Douglas Trumbull. Renowned astrophysicist Stephen Hawking was a huge fan of Matt Groening's cartoons. On BBC's The Culture Show, he even called The Simpsons, quote, the best thing on American television. He played himself in 5 episodes of The Simpsons and in 2 episodes of Futurama, plus a movie and video game. The first of his Futurama appearances was as part of the Vice Presidential Action Rangers in Anthology of Interest 1.
Hey, Stephen Hawking! Aren't you that physicist that invented gravity?
Sure, why not?
He returned as a head in a jar in the Beast with a Billion Backs movie and in the video game-themed Future Challenge 3000 segment of Reincarnation. He even recorded dialogue for the Futurama Worlds of Tomorrow mobile game released in 2017, a year before his death. Hawking died peacefully in his home on March 14, 2018, at the age of 76. He lived much longer than anyone expected, considering the fact that he was diagnosed with amyotrophic lateral sclerosis at the young age of 21 and was told at the time he had only 2 years to live. The disease gradually paralyzed his body, but he was able to communicate using a computer voice program. In the 55 years between his diagnosis and his death, he expanded our understanding of gravity, black holes, and quantum mechanics. All of the Vice Presidential Action Rangers in Anthology of Interest 1, aside from former Vice President Al Gore himself, are no longer with us today. In addition to Nichelle Nichols and Stephen Hawking, this includes Gary Gygax, the co-creator of the Dungeons & Dragons role-playing game. In his guest appearance in Futurama, he's comedically depicted as allowing the rules of his game to dictate his life, always needing to roll dice before every decision.
Greetings! It's a pleasure to meet you.
Gygax died at the age of 69 on March 4, 2008. His health had been on the decline since 2004, when he had 2 strokes and entered semi-retirement. His wife Gail confirmed he had also suffered an abdominal aneurysm before his death. When he died, the Futurama crew was busy at work on the direct-to-DVD movie Bender's Game, which was about the characters playing D&D and getting sucked into a fantasy world. Fittingly, the film included a post-credits dedication to Gygax, featuring a clip of him from Anthology of Interest 1. Henry Louis Hank Aaron, a baseball player for the Atlanta Braves and Milwaukee Brewers, had the unusual distinction of voicing 2 separate guest characters on Futurama. In the episode A Leela of Her Own, he played both himself as a head in a jar and his great-great etc. grandson, Hank Aaron XXIV. Where Hank Aaron is considered one of the greatest baseball players of all time, his descendant is the worst Blurns ball player ever, at least until Leela ends up taking that dishonorable title from him.
This time, keep your eye off the ball.
You mean keep your eye on the ball?
Hey, lady, which one of us is in the Hall of Fame?
Psst,
You're holding the bat upside down.
The real Aaron died in his sleep of natural causes at the age of 86 on January 22, 2021. Upon his death, flags were ordered to half-mast in his memory in Georgia, where he spent much of his adult life. TV and radio personality Dick Clark introduced countless rock and roll artists to the wider American public by hosting American Bandstand from 1956 to 1989. Beginning in 1973, he also started hosting Dick Clark's New Year's Rockin' Eve. For many years, Rockin' Eve was the most watched New Year's broadcast on American television, becoming a staple of the holiday across the country. The Futurama premiere episode, Space Pilot 3000, envisioned Clark continuing to host the annual broadcast for over a millennium, eventually as a head in a jar.
Hello, I'm Dick Clark's head. Welcome to a special year 3000 edition of New Year's Rockin' Eve.
In the real world, Clark had to give up most of his hosting duties following a stroke in 2004. Regis Philbin took over that year, while in subsequent years Clark made brief appearances on the broadcast, but ceded the main hosting duties to Ryan Seacrest. Clark died of a heart attack at the age of 82 on April 18, 2012, a day after undergoing routine prostate surgery. Clark's name is still attached to the Seacrest-hosted New Year's Rockin' Eve. Best known for starring in the delightfully campy live-action Batman series from 1966 to 1968, Adam West had such a larger-than-life presence that it only makes sense he'd end up playing himself in multiple cartoons. He frightened Bart and Lisa with his dancing in The Simpsons, believed himself to be Catman in The Fairly Odd Parents, and was mayor of Quahog in Family Guy. One of his final voice-acting roles was in the Futurama episode Leela and the Jeanstalk, where West's head in a jar was attached to a bat body as part of one of Mom's experiments. Robin actor Burt Ward was also subject to experiments in the same episode, allowing the two friends and co-stars to reunite one last time.
Well, back to being the subject of gruesome genetic experiments, old chum.
West died from leukemia at the age of 88 on June 9, 2017. Artist Leon Ivey Jr., better known by his stage name Coolio, had the most frequently recurring role of any Futurama guest star on this list. The rapper, best known for his hit song Gangsta's Paradise, was the voice of Kwanzaa Bot, one of 3 December holiday representatives in the series alongside Robot Santa and the Hanukkah Zombie.
I gotta hand out the traditional Kwanzaa book. I've been giving these out for 647 years.
First introduced in the episode A Tale of Two Santas, Kwanzaa Bot helped save Earth in Bender's Big Score and had a segment in the Futurama Holiday Spectacular. Coolio died on September 28, 2022, due to suffering cardiac arrest at a friend's house. He was only 59 years old at the time of his death. An autopsy later revealed that his heart attack was caused by an accidental overdose of fentanyl, heroin, and methamphetamine. Coolio recorded one more guest appearance for the Hulu revival of Futurama before his death, and the episode was dedicated to his memory. Producer David X. Cohen told TMZ, "Coolio was one of my favorite guests. He was always totally upbeat and genuinely enjoyed coming in to record as his character Kwanzaa Bot." If you or anyone you know needs help with addiction issues, help is available. Visit the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration website or contact SAMHSA's National Helpline at 1-800-662-HELP, 1-800-662-4357.